Imagine, if you can, an entire continent, all of its incredible, staggering diversity, all of it packed into a single nation. A place where, in just a few hours, you can go from dense, humid rainforests to sun-scorched savannas, from tropical coasts right up to the peaks of active volcanoes. Well, this isn't a continent, it's a country. This is Cameroon. Let's dive into why this incredible nation is known as Africa in miniature. You know, this quote right here, it just hits the nail on the head. It's not some catchy slogan for a travel brochure. It's a geographical fact. See, Cameroon sits right at the hinge of the continent, the very spot where West Africa and Central Africa meet. And it's this unique position that gives it this unbelievable range of landscapes. So our journey starts where the country itself got its name. Way back in the 15th century, a group of Portuguese explorers sailed into the Wari River, and they were just blown away by the sheer number of one particular creature, ghost shrimps. So they named the river Rio dos Camarões, which means, you guessed it, the River of Shrimps. And over the centuries, that name stuck, eventually defining an entire nation. Now, this coastal plain, it's the country's vibrant, beating heart. We're talking about a world of intense heat, intense humidity. The air is so thick you can almost taste the rain and salt. In fact, this area has some of the most drenched landscapes on the entire planet. And right in the middle of it all is Douala, the biggest city and the main seaport. It's the powerful engine that connects Cameroon to the rest of the world. Okay, from that bustling coast, we're going to move inland, and as we do, the world just completely transforms. We are now entering the South Cameroon Plateau, a massive expanse that is dominated by one of the planet's great equatorial rainforests. This is the deep green heart of the nation. But this forest, it's so much more than just trees. It's an ancient world, you know? It's home to some of the oldest inhabitants of the region, like the Baka peoples. It's also a place of incredible natural wealth. Its timber reserves are huge, covering more than a third of the country, which creates this really tough balancing act between economic needs and conservation. And you can see its power right here. Rivers born in this forest, like the Sanaga, they feed the Idea hydroelectric station, generating power for a huge part of the nation. All right, let's start climbing. We're moving up and out of those humid lowlands and into the Cameroon mountain range. This is a dramatic spine of volcanoes and really fertile plateaus. The air up here is cooler, the climate is milder, but the history is turbulent, marked by both the raw power of the earth and the deep scars of a colonial past. 4,095 meters. That's the height of Mount Cameroon, an active volcano that just dominates the entire landscape. It's truly a breathtaking sight. But the volcanic nature of this region, well, it holds a much darker story. It's created these deep crater lakes, and one of them, Lake Nyos, was the site of a truly horrific natural disaster. Back in 1986, the lake suddenly released a massive, invisible cloud of carbon dioxide. It was a silent killer that flowed down into the valleys, suffocating over 1,700 people and thousands of their livestock. And this is where the story of the land really crashes into the story of its people. It all started as a single German colony, Cameroon. But after World War I, it was broken apart. In 1919, it was split between France and Britain, which set the stage for a divided future. Even after independence and a reunification in 1961, these two parts came back together having had totally different experiences. And then, the real turning point, 1972. The federal system that was meant to protect those differences was just dissolved, centralizing all the power and planting the seeds of future conflict. And this is where you can really see how different they were. On one hand, you had the French, who pushed a policy of assimilation and brought in their civil law system. But on the other side, the British used indirect rule, working through local leaders, bringing their common law system, and running things from neighboring Nigeria. I mean, these weren't just small details. They shaped everything: legal systems, schools, language, politics, creating two very different identities inside one country. And that question, it's not just a thought experiment. It is the central challenge for modern Cameroon. The friction between these two legacies has created deep, deep political tensions. These historical fault lines are right at the heart of the ongoing Anglophone crisis, a struggle over identity and power that exploded when people protested having French imposed in their English-speaking courts and schools. It's a conflict that has since forced hundreds of thousands from their homes. Okay, let's make another dramatic shift. We're now crossing the Adamoa Plateau. Think of this rugged, grassy highland as a massive natural wall separating the lush, green, forested south from the dry, wide-open spaces of the north. We are entering an entirely different Cameroon. Up here, the world is all about savanna scrub and grasslands. The climate is hotter, it's drier, and life is completely adapted to living on the edge of the Sahel, that vast, semi-arid zone right below the Sahara Desert. This region has its own ancient histories too, from the South civilization that flourished around Lake Chad to the powerful influence of the Fulani people, whose culture is just woven into the very fabric of the North. So, we've journeyed across this incredible geography, but now we have to turn to Cameroon's greatest resource, and maybe its greatest challenge, its people. Because it's in the human landscape that this idea of Africa in miniature becomes most real, most vivid. Think about this number for a second, over 250. That's how many distinct native languages are spoken here. Now, French and English might be the official languages of the government, but on the streets, in the villages, in people's homes, it's this incredible mosaic of languages that truly defines the nation. It's just a stunning testament to the depth of its cultural diversity. And that diversity, it goes right into matters of faith. Christianity is the majority religion, practiced by about 2/3 of the people. But Islam is the faith for nearly 1/3 of the population. And just like we saw with the geography, this often mirrors that north-south divide, with most Muslims living in the north and Christians mainly in the southern and western parts of the country. With a population of nearly 31 million people, the nation is almost perfectly split between those who live in cities and those who live in the countryside. An incredible 70% of the population works the land, many of them as subsistence farmers. And while society is largely male-dominated, it is so often the women who are the true backbone of agriculture, growing the family's food and running the household. Now, out of all this diversity comes this powerful, vibrant culture. The rhythms of Makassa and Bukutsi music have traveled way beyond Cameroon's borders. But maybe, just maybe, nothing unites the nation quite like football. The national team, the Indomitable Lions, is a source of immense national pride, and they're one of Africa's most successful and legendary teams. So, how is the country run? Well, politically, Cameroon is a unitary presidential republic. What that means is the system concentrates a huge amount of authority in the presidency. The country has been led by President Paul Biya since 1982, which makes him one of the longest-serving leaders in the entire world. And, it has to be said, the nation continues to face significant challenges with corruption, as noted by groups like Transparency International. Which brings us back to where we started, to the central question of Cameroon. Can a nation that literally contains a continent's worth of diversity in its land, its culture, and its history truly become one? It is a place of incredible beauty and deeply complex challenges. Its future really lies in its ability to navigate these deep-seated divisions, to forge a single identity from all the countless threads of its people, its past, and its magnificent land. The path forward isn't clear, but one thing is for sure, it will be as diverse and as complex as the nation itself.